And I was like, because you don't want to wait 6 minutes? Are you kidding? Do you know the day I've had? Da, da, da. And I'm like, just stuck. You're so spoiled. And she was like,
Today's not the
God.
day to mess with mom.
I was like, wrong day. I was like, I'm going to bed when we got in the house. The only thing that could have made it worse is if I was watching my Roomba throw itself down a flight of steps.
This is On Call.
Wow, this would be really cool to just wear scrubs all the time. Then you don't have to think about what you're going to wear to work.
Joke is awesome.
We're here to answer your questions. We can sit down and discuss them. Wait, I gotta go. I'm on call.
Wait, you're on call? I thought I was on call.
Welcome back to another episode of On Call with April and Alicia. I'm April.
I'm Alicia.
And I'm Adriana.
We have a guest.
Adriana's talking real quiet. That's Adriana, everybody. Hi, Adriana.
Hello.
Oh, we're so excited to have Adriana. So Adriana is a friend of Alicia and I, but also she used to work with us at Sound. So we'll talk all about her story with Sound and stuff like that. But we are so excited to have you here today, Adriana.
Welcome to the call room. And fun fact, April, you shared something with me. Was it last week?
Yeah.
Or the week before? What?
Last week, I think.
Why is Adriana's Cupid? She's a podcast Cupid.
She is. So she
Why
is
is
actually the one that connected the two of us. So I had been approached about doing a podcast and was kind of brainstorming in my head of ways to do it. And Adriana was one of my thought partners there. And so I said, and she said, why don't you have somebody like a partner do it with you? And you and Alicia should do it together because you guys have a great dynamic. So she is part of the reason that we're here today. So
she noticed that I was harassing you from day one.
She did.
And the world would love it.
Yes.
Right?
Yep. She picked up on it. She knew.
Seriously. Thank you, Adriana. Thanks for inviting me.
Well,
For making April do it. Thank you.
Thank you both. You're amazing leaders and two people that I truly admire and so grateful that I was able to work with both of you.
We'll see if you still feel that way after this episode. April, I know we've got a lot on our plate today, but I do have to tell you guys a story. So April, you sent me a text last night.
Yes, I did.
And you're like, hey, are you alive? And I was a little bit reactive because I was like, what do you mean? You just sent me a text Thursday for the queen of not responding to text, by the way. But that being said, I had the worst Friday I've had in the longest time. I went to provider orientation at one of our sites. That's about an hour and 20 minutes from my house. And as I've shared on the podcast, I have an electric car. So what I've noticed is in the wintertime, it doesn't charge like as high for some reason, or, it takes like a lot more energy to charge it.
Right.
But it doesn't charge as high. And I'm always doing like math and arithmetic, like aeronautical engineering and all these kind of things to figure out like how the heck I'm going to make it from point A to point B.
It sounds very stressful, by the way.
It is, but it was an impulse buy. So here I am stuck with my decision. So anyway, I go to this orientation and I've got this thing except orientation drags a little bit. It's like one of those days where it's domino effect day. Everything is kind of falling behind. And all I keep thinking is this orientation is now an hour behind. I have to get on a specific call at noon, and then I have got to get my kids at 2:00 and at 3:00. So by the time I bust out of orientation, get in the car, plug like my home address in, and it routes me to this charging station. So I sit there for my first call, recharge, get on the road, and I just start driving. And about an hour in, I'm like, I don't recognize any of this. I am an hour plus in it going east away from my house. So I am now like close to 3 hours away from home.
Oh my God.
Where I started.
How did you not realize that?
Because the car was routing me to another charging station for some reason. 30, I want to see 30, 40 miles in addition to like where I kind of checked myself on the highway. I have no idea. And somehow there's like, you can click how they want the map to be created. So I picked this option, which I didn't pick the option, but allegedly this option was selected to like either go off highways or avoid major highways. So I was like on these back roads.
Oh my
I had
gosh.
no idea where I ended up. I was, when I say livid, I can't tell you. I don't know if you've ever had a screaming session in your car, but like everything started crashing down on me at that point. It was like I was going to be late to get my daughter, late to get my son. I'm trying to focus on these work calls, but I don't even know where I am. And I'm going to have to stop and charge my car again. And I say something like on a call in the car, it's like my Mercedes, but it'll like she responds to Mercedes or anything similar to like how Siri responds.
Right.
If it's, I must have said something that sounded like Mercedes. She was like, "What can I help you with?" And I was like, "You can help me by giving me the right GD directions and not sending me in." And I'm like going on this.
I can just
machine.
imagine how many not podcast appropriate words were said.
Not lots of expletives when I tell you. And I mean, when I say rage, I was like, if you see me right now, my face is so red in embarrassment because
Oh,
I cannot
gosh.
tell you a time I ever did that. But like I
That
had a
sounds
couple people call,
horrible.
was like, "Hey, I've been trying to get a hold of you." I was like, "Dude, get me started right now."
So did you
was
get the kid?
tragic. No, I had to call Matt to get the kids. And
Oh,
then I got to them and they had lacrosse and volleyball respectively at the same time. And I
course.
was just like, right. And then what the privileged kids they are like, wait, so like if we both get picked up like at the same time, like which one of us is going to have to wait? And I was like, you guys are 6 minutes apart. It doesn't really matter. Somebody's just going to
Right.
wait 6 minutes. And Juliana was like, well, can I just call my dad to come pick me up then? And I was like, because you don't want to wait 6 minutes? Are you kidding? Do you know the day I've had? Da, da, da. And I'm like, you're so spoiled. And she was like,
Today's not the
God.
day to mess with mom.
I was like, wrong day. I was like, I'm going to bed when we got in the house. The only thing that
Oh,
could have made it
man.
worse is if I was watching my Roomba throw itself down a flight of steps. So that was my story. That's why I didn't write you back, April. I was decompressing, and it was probably a good thing I didn't talk to you on Friday. So
Oh my gosh, that sounds horrible and scary at the same time.
it is
Ugh.
really, well, it's scary. I didn't like who I was. That was the scary part. But it's just one of those days. And I kind of laughed. I was like, I know we talk about these days, but in hindsight, you don't feel like they're funny. Or I mean, like in the moment, you don't. But in hindsight, it's really it was funny to me,
Yeah.
like to look at myself, and I was like, I would just love to have been one of the cars passing me and been like, yeah, so
What
she's
is wrong
yelling
with
at
that lady?
somebody, but not realizing it was just at an AI
car,
person
yeah.
inside my car. I'm like, did you hear that, Mercedes? Did you hear what I just said? It was pretty embarrassing.
These are moments where I'm thankful that I have like my really old minivan that has no technology in it at all, and I just have to like figure it out myself and drive. So
Yeah, I need to be present is what I'm learning in that
Yeah.
moment. So, okay. Adriana, sorry to take all of that time. We do have a guest with
No,
a
great story.
yeah. Is it
Sorry.
great, Adriana? I don't know. It's not.
No,
it's
I
not-
mean, it's one of those things that you never think is going to happen to you until it happens, right? And then you're
No.
like, oh,
Well,
And
and
I
it's like
don't
one of those
even
things you
know-
can't make it up, right? Like it sounds like a
No,
ridiculous
right.
story, but it's
Who
like you
would
can't
have
make that
thought
up.
that's the trigger? Like when I say to somebody, even like, okay, let's take this into a positive, right? The way we approach our patients, we are meeting patients on some of their worst days. If you had
Right.
met me on Friday, I would not be the person you know me as. You would have been like, wow, she's really angry.
Right.
I don't
Or-
really like her right now.
yeah, like she might need Haldol. There's something that you might have said about me in that moment. But we're meeting patients this way. For some of these people, this is the worst day of their life. Friday wasn't the worst day of my life, but it was a challenging snowball avalanche effect type of a day. But okay, so let's make it positive and say, yeah, what it taught me was I shouldn't be so judgmental of people sometimes because maybe I'm meeting them on a bad day.
That's true. You never know, really.
And I'm
what
making it
is
about
going in
me.
other people's minds. Yep.
Yep. So, okay, that being said, we're in March. Happy March, everybody.
Yep.
And as we did last year, we did History Month because it's Women's History Month. And what we decided was to invite Adriana, who April just introduced, on to talk a little bit about her journey and what she's been going through. And I'm not going to spoil that part. I'm going to let her introduce that. But I'd like to do, let's break the ice, April.
Yes, of course.
Adriana, we're going to ask you a couple just lighthearted questions. And I want you to like give us the first answer that comes to mind.
Okay.
April,
All right, am I going first?
you go.
All right. So Adriana, I always ask something about food. So I don't know
Always.
why, but it's always like my thing. So, if you could have any sandwich, what would your ideal sandwich be to eat?
Mm.
Mm.
That's a good one. Probably if I could have turkey with bacon, but now that I'm diabetic, just remove the bacon. Yeah.
All right. No
Turkey
cheese?
with bacon?
Yeah, cheese, lettuce, tomato, you name it, throw it in there.
All right. I'm a turkey girl too. My kids are turkey too.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, I was going to ask a similar question, but I'll ask it in a different way. It's still going to be about food.
All
So
right.
you're Adriana, you're on a deserted island and you
Mhm.
can only eat one type of junk food for the rest of your life. And it's not going to affect your health. It's calorie free, fat free, everything, nothing counts. What is your go-to junk food for the rest of your life?
That's a good one. I've forgotten about junk food nowadays. Um, Probably some chips.
What kind of chips?
I would say potato chips,
Any
anything that
kind?
has garlic or vinegar.
Yes,
That sounds
salt and
good to me.
vinegar. Yes. April, we have another vinegar
I
baby
know.
in the
I was just
house.
thinking another vinegar person. I
I
hate vinegar,
love vinegar.
Adriana. I don't eat it. Like I hate
I
it.
No,
love
no.
it.
Yeah, I love
I
it.
love it. I knew I liked you, Adriana. All right, April, you go.
All right. Adriana, if you could take a trip to anywhere in the world, where would you go?
Hmm. I would either go to Alaska
Mm.
or to I did a cruise around the Horn in South America,
Okay.
where yeah, that was breathtaking. Those are probably my two favorite places just because of the connection with nature,
Mm.
and was able to spend some time in a penguin reserve and do a lot of those
Oh,
and see the whales and things like that.
yeah, that's cool.
Hmm.
Oh, penguins.
Yeah, they're so cute.
I've only seen them in the aquarium. That'd be interesting.
We saw
Although
them
it
at
sounds really
SeaWorld,
cold.
and they stunk so bad. They were
Did
in
they
this
really?
yeah, they were in this like contained area because they have to keep it cold for them, right? And it's in
Oh yeah.
Florida. So you have to go in and they can't open both doors at the same time because it'll throw off the temperature. And so I think just all of them confined in that small area, it was very smelly.
Penguin poop.
Yeah.
Sounds lovely.
Well,
Yeah.
I kept telling my husband, take a picture. Oh, he's so cute. Come on, take a picture. He finally said to me, they all look alike. How many pictures do you take?
That's true. Really, who's going to challenge you that's really not a picture you took even though? You could
Right.
just like get it off the internet, Adriana, get a really good one and be like, yeah, we saw this one.
But it
That's
was
true.
just
I'm just saving you time.
I know, but I was in an area that it was like 500 penguins, and they were scattered, and it was just, very pretty. I mean, with nature and things like that. So they actually migrate to this island during their mating season. So it was really a wonderful experience.
I love that. I'm going to go a little quirky on my final question, and that is there were a lot of things that I believed growing up as a kid that as an adult I look back and I'm like, was funny. That's what I believed. Monsters under your bed, all of those like type of things that our parents tell us or that maybe we just pick up as kids. But what is the weirdest thing that you were absolutely convinced was real when you were a child?
Um, I probably had, those. It's funny that you mentioned that because I was afraid of sleeping alone. It was like I thought it was a monster or something underneath my bed, and
Yeah.
my mom, my mom refused. She's like, you're going to have to get over that. And she
Yeah.
was a school teacher and she was firm about that. And I was like, I used to dread when it came back time to sleep. I
Yeah.
used to dread it.
Oh,
We would worry because we had bunk beds, and so I'd always want to be like on the top bed because I'd worry like if my leg went over, um, like the monster can only get you if you're hanging off your bed. If you're
right.
not,
Of
it
course.
stays in place. But I like had tricked myself and like, well, I can't get up to use the bathroom. I can't get up to do, and I can't let if my covers fall off the bed, they just fall off the bed. R.I.P. I'm not moving and getting pulled under the bed. But I just wondered if you guys had kind of weird
Do you know
quirks
what
like
I
that.
had?
Yeah.
I don't know if you've ever seen the movie Candyman, but we
Yes.
watched it as a kid, and I am just not a horror movie person. I can't do it. I like think about them forever. And I watched that with my friends one day, and for years, like if I got up to go to the bathroom in the middle of the night and looked in the mirror, like I would freak out. I'd be like, oh my God, I can't. So I would like try to get up and go to the bathroom and not look at the mirror.
And you can't say, isn't it Candyman 3 times as
Yeah.
well?
So we're not going to say it
Yeah.
anymore. Yeah. Hmm.
You still believe it.
I don't know. It like really struck me as a kid. Like I was like, I can't. And then there's just certain things like that. Like there was a CSI episode one time of a guy who hid under people's beds, and that freaked me out for a long time. Like
Well,
I
you know
would like
what
look
freaks
under
me
my
out
bed
as an
before I go to
adult?
bed.
Do you know that okay, this is going to turn into a true crime podcast in just a second, but do you know that there are people called froggers? Have you ever heard this? Adriana, have you heard this term, froggers?
No.
Okay, froggers are people that basically they squat in your house, but
Oh,
they
we can't talk
hide
about this.
in certain places of your home. Like they'll like I don't even want to scare everybody, but it's like a real thing. People find out there like people living in areas of their homes or like in their attics or in other places. And like there's a whole Dateline episode about it.
Okay. We're done talking
Wow.
about that because that's like my
Okay.
biggest fear.
Moving on to the weather. Today it's sunny and it actually is sunny. Okay. On
is
to our
sunny, so-
episode and really the highlight of our episode, Adriana.
Yes.
We are happy to have you here. And we're really, really, I think, April, you recently were on a call with Adriana that you were pretty inspired by her reflection. Why don't you tell us about that? And let's get started
Yeah.
with
So
Adriana.
Adriana, so she worked with us at Sound as our senior director of clinical recruitment. And then, as she'll get into in a little bit, she had a medical diagnosis that pulled her away from work and has an incredible story to share about that. But she was on a recruiting call with our team. It was probably a few weeks ago, maybe even a month ago, and was just sort of sharing her story and some inspiration for the group. And it really kind of inspired me. And I thought, you know what, we should get her on to share her story on our podcast. So here she is today. So we're super excited to have you.
Thank you.
So let's start about and have you tell us a little bit about your career story and just your life story in general.
Sure. I was born in Cuba and came to this country many, many, many years ago. And have 30 years of healthcare total. Partially part of my first 14 years were at a teaching hospital, really involved with graduate medical education and health information management. And then I saw an ad about work with doctors. And I'm like, oh, I can do that. This is doing all this time. But it didn't say anything about a recruiting position because I probably would have declined it because at that time, my office was constantly being flooded with recruiters trying to poach our physicians and our residents. So I went to the interview and it sounded exciting, sounded something totally different. And I started recruiting emergency medicine. And obviously, through my lifetime, I have recruited many specialties and worked at Sound for 13 years. Love the organization and the people. And my plan was to retire from Sound. Circumstances changed because of my diagnosis, but I can't imagine working with the the finest group of people and amazing leaders and mentors, and they're part of my family.
I love that. Tell us what changed, Adriana.
In November of 2023, I started having some mild symptoms of itching and heartburn, and went to the urgent care, obviously,
What kind of itching? Sorry, I'm just curious. What kind of
It
itching?
was strange. It's not a regular itching that you have a rash. It was something that I felt like my skin inside was burning.
Mm.
So went to the urgent care. The doctor obviously, makes sense, said, change your soap, take some omeprazole, see if, let it come back if you don't feel better. And a week or two went by and I didn't see any improvements. So something, something felt wrong. So my primary care doctor, who had done a physical in August, said, we're going to repeat your labs in December, just because your glucose and your liver enzymes are slightly elevated. And I decided to go to Quest and had my labs done, and they all came back abnormal. And consequently, from that, I went to the emergency department as soon as I had my lab results and told them what was going on, and they admitted me to the hospital. I was admitted for almost a week. It was the week of Thanksgiving. They did a full workup.
Did they have any idea, Adriana, at the time?
No.
So they were just like, something's abnormal, but we're not sure what.
Yeah, they thought it was that, my gallbladder.
Okay.
Yeah, and
April went through that.
I did.
Thing, right?
It was awful.
Yeah, they thought it was my gallbladder, but as the more testing they did, obviously, they found that I had a tumor in the head of the pancreas and a small lesion in my liver. Yeah, obviously.
And that was November, or you had to wait some time for that?
No, that was November. By the time I was discharged from the hospital, I had a diagnosis. I obviously, when you hear cancer and pancreatic cancer, you immediately, I don't even know if you ask me. I look back retrospectively and I don't recall a lot of things because of the amount of stress that we were under and, not the uncertainty, right?
Yeah.
And I started immediately, I had an appointment, of course, with a multidisciplinary team here locally, but I immediately decided that I was going to go to either MD Anderson or, or MSK, whatever, those institutions that are well known and highly respected for cancer. And I wanted to start, if I qualify for treatment as quickly as possible. I recall vividly one of my doctors telling me, do yourself a favor and don't look up anything. You're too and whatever, you're going to read a lot of horror stories, you're going to read, and it's not in your best interest right now.
Yeah, I feel like you can go down quite a rabbit hole on the internet with this stuff and really
you can find what you're looking for.
Yeah.
Just depending on the way you put it in. Did you actually listen to him, Adriana, or did you?
Well, by the time
did you look it up?
I had already done all of that. And and I certainly appreciated when he said that because, now that I've learned a lot about precision medicine and genetics and all of this, and obviously there's a lot more to learn and to understand and to do research on cancer. Now look back, I listen to my friends sometimes and they're like, yeah, I don't feel, I've had this thing, and I Google it, and I'm like, why are you going to Dr. Google? I mean, you need to go see a doctor or, your provider. Just don't everything that is online is not true. And I also, and by the way, Alicia, I went through the second time when I was, so I went through 6 courses of treatment of chemo, and then I had Whipple. And when I was preparing for Whipple, I joined several Facebook groups, and I started doing a lot of research on Whipple, and I realized that I just went ahead and removed myself from those groups because because first of all, my experience in 2024 was totally different than 17 years ago. And two is that there's a lot of misinformation and probably really some horrific stories and some really sad stories. I didn't experience that going through Whipple, so that's something that, looking back retrospectively, it was great that I had a network of people that had gone through Whipple in the past that I can go to, that none of them had those, horror stories. Obviously it's a major surgery, but it was 5 days in the hospital and I recovered well.
Well, Adriana, let me walk this back just a little bit, because I think you skipped over something that is important as well. So you were diagnosed in November, and then you said I had chemo, then you had Whipple. Tell us about the chemo. What was the chemo like? And I mean, you don't have to tell us day by day, but what was that experience? And then what is Whipple for those people who don't know what that procedure is?
Yeah, well, chemo is, it's tough. I don't think there's any patient who's been diagnosed with cancer, regardless of, what the diagnosis is, who's going to tell you that they they love chemotherapy. I mean, obviously I embrace my cancer. This is my tumor. I qualify for chemotherapy. I am going to go and take this one day at a time and go to treatment and say, thank God I qualified for chemo, and here we go. And chemo is tough. The 6 courses of treatment for chemotherapy take a toll on you, and then you go through, then we'll talk about Whipple, but it's tough. It's by the time my chemo was practically the full day, and then I would have a pump that I would take home for a day and a half. And by the time you go through chemo and your body starts recovering, and obviously you have to drink a lot of water, there's a lot of commitment to your well-being during this time, from a nutritional perspective, from a dehydration perspective, from all the side effects for chemo and how do you manage that. By the time you start recovering, then you have the next cycle. So it's tough. I mean, I tell everyone that, take care of yourself, because I wouldn't want anyone to have to go through chemotherapy. But I also recognize that chemotherapy is the reason why I'm, part of the reason why I'm here today. So, and then after the surgery, which I'll talk a little bit about, after the surgery, I went through 6 more rounds of chemo. And I thought chemo before surgery was bad. Post-surgery, that you're recovering from this large, this is a very lengthy procedure, a major surgery, was even tougher. There were days that I was like, how am I going to make it through this? I never said anything to my doctors or, my family and my husband, because, I'm a strong person, and I'm like, I'm going to make it through this. There's no point of either being the victim or feeling sorry for myself, or, and this shall pass. But it was tough, very tough. But Whipple is, you guys probably know more about Whipple than I do, but it's basically what happens through the Whipple surgery is they remove your gallbladder, they reconnect, they cut the head of the pancreas, which part of the reason why a lot of patients end up with diabetes is because of that. And then they reconnect the pancreas, to your liver, and to your small intestine. And post Whipple, you obviously, I depend for any time I eat, I have to take digestive enzymes because my body, my pancreas does not produce it anymore. So it's a major surgery. It's a surgery that my surgeon shared with me that because of my health, because it was in pretty good shape and pretty health wise, it was in that and because of my cancer and the fact that although I had a lesion in my liver, it had not spread completely to my liver. I qualify for Whipple, but not everyone has is fortunate to qualify. So here I am qualifying for chemotherapy and having being fortunate or to qualify for Whipple. And then obviously post Whipple is chemo again for 6 more treatments. Yeah, which is every other week. So it's tough. I can't not share in words how this journey has been. I can only share what I have learned through the journey because it is I am so empathetic to anyone who has a chronic disease or that there are no, it breaks my heart and I wouldn't want anyone to go through it.
Yeah. Well, you've been through a lot in such a short time, it feels like, and you had good news on Friday at your post treatment imaging, right? So that's great news.
Yeah. I it was a 6-month checkup. Obviously, every 3 months they do scans, and no evidence of cancer. So
That's awesome.
That's great news. Yeah.
Yes. And
that's been, I mean, so your diagnosis was 23, right? November 23.
Correct.
Then a full year 24 treatment, surgery, treatment, and here we are.
Yeah. It's pretty awesome.
April 3rd is going to be my first Whipple anniversary.
Oh, okay. That's 2 days after my birthday.
Well, happy
April
birthday.
Fools. I would love good news. More good news. Early good news for you. That's wonderful.
That's awesome.
I have an appointment with my surgeon that day, and I was telling my oncologist, she's like, "You have an appointment on the same day of your surgery?" I'm like, "Yeah, we're going to celebrate."
Absolutely. I mean, you have to, right? Like, that's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I mean, as we said, you've been through a lot and, a lot of exposure to the healthcare system and all that kind of stuff. So, how has this impacted your outlook on life, would you say, this journey that you've had?
It certainly has impacted me in many ways. Certainly has, my faith has grown. And I cherish my family and friends even more. They not only are amazing people, but through this journey I've realized what a gift, to have a wonderful family and be surrounded with friends who they're supported me, their love and compassion and throughout this journey was so palpable that I have no words to express my gratitude. It surely has, I thought I lived a life practicing gratitude, but it's taken it elevated to another level. Where, I realize I wake up every day just being grateful and thankful that I am alive, the gift of life, that I really focus and strive every day on things that are really important. And it is so easy, especially when, you're working and you have kids and family and responsibilities and demands, to get so caught up in all of that um, that sometimes we often forget to take care of ourselves, to be grateful for what we have, to, we, our nutrition, in this, sadly enough, in this country,
Yeah.
or, we have to do something about that. I mean, even I remember days when I was working that I would eat at 2 or 3 p.m. and I would, grab a salad from
Yeah.
whatever place. It wasn't probably I don't even know if they, they had organic vegetables or what they did. It was just whatever. It's just a salad, right? I spend a lot of time, meditating and prayer. I think that's how I start my day every day. And then obviously more of enjoying life and, don't sweat the small stuff, things
Yeah.
that we all know. Life, keep it simple, right? We don't complicate yourself with accumulating stuff and focusing on things that are not important or relevant, because at the end of the day, it's like we're all here and we don't know when that moment is going to come. And obviously when you have a diagnosis of cancer, then you start thinking about your legacy and your life and
Yeah.
all those things, and you realize that you know my legacy is probably making sure that I stay true to myself by saying, I'm strong, I'm a fighter. I'm not going to let this um, diagnosis diagnosis be, I'm not going to be the victim. This is, for whatever reason, is in my life. And if I'm going to fight until the end.
Yeah.
And that's all I can do. So I strive to live my life with that same passion, that every day is a gift and I'm going to live it to the fullest and enjoy life.
Yeah, I love that. I mean, I do think, I mean, obviously having cancer is a physical battle, right? Like you're, going through chemo and surgeries and all the things, but a
Yeah.
lot of it is also mental, right? Like if you don't
Yes.
have that positive outlook of, I can fight this, I can beat this, and like you said, not kind of getting in that zone of where you're kind of feeling sorry for yourself and instead having that positive outlook is so important.
And
So,
I want to also add, like, if anybody is hearing this, it is okay to, when we say feel sorry for yourself, it's more of like a persistent, constant mind state.
right.
I think it, like, reasonably as humans, that we all are going to respond in a way like, why me? Like, what did
Right.
I do? And those are the questions that you may ask yourself. And Adriana, I'm sure you had your own. I've not talked to many people in this profession that the patients were just like, well, okay, I have breast cancer, I have pancreatic cancer,
Right.
so
Yeah, that's true.
let's just take it on. It's like all in a day's work. It doesn't happen like that, but it is like the persistent mindset. If that is sounds to me like what you're saying is, if that's where you stay, then like you kind of will some of that negativity into your attempt to recover. One thing you said, Adriana, when we had a call with Adriana last week, and just to kind of touch base with her, and April had heard this great story. We really wanted to share it with all of you guys, and you really touched me with, like, the lessons learned piece, and what you took from your life is what you've started to respond to, but also, like, your perception of healthcare, and not you were on one side of the bed, is what we sometimes we say. I'm not used to being on this side of the bed. um you're in the healthcare system that and have navigated for so long, part of your career, just be a part of who you are. Now you are the patient. How has this shaped your view of healthcare in general, or specific, whichever part you want to tackle?
Yeah. No, and I thank you, Alicia. I mean, you're absolutely right about the victim piece, and I want to actually add to that and answer your question. What I realized through this journey is that when I would go to get my infusions in the waiting room, at times I found patients that their insurance would not qualify, they would not pay for their chemo, that um, they were alone, that somehow they didn't tolerate the treatments. So along the way, I realized that, heck, I cannot be a victim because I have family that cares about me. I am going to fight this. I have insurance. My Neupogen injections, which is to your blood counts, your white cells that you need post chemo, were never denied. So I had so many things to be thankful for. That's the reason why I didn't go into this feeling sorry for myself. But what I realized in healthcare, I mean, I'm going to give you two different perspectives. My perspective as a patient and also as a recruiter. I personally think the healthcare system is broken, but it's no news, right? We all know that.
Yes.
If you think about the shortages of healthcare providers across the country, and we as a recruiters, it's very palpable. The U.S. as clinicians certainly have felt that. And as a recruiters, I often would go to a hospital, perhaps meet with administration, meet with a medical director. We had, turnover and things like that. You can hear and feel the stress. But as a patient, I experience what it is to be short of staff.
Mm-hmm.
Whether it's a shortage of nurses, shortage of doctors, whether it's a doctor who recently resigned, and then the other physician has to pick up all those patients. That the high cost of healthcare. I mean, I would look at, I'm going through all this experience of chemo and Whipple and all of that, and I would see the unsurmountable amount of bills piling up, and luckily that I had, good insurance and that we were prepared for this, but financially this can be devastating for a family. The lack of access. I mean, how many patients in that same infusion room were told your insurance will not cover? I'm sorry, you have to go somewhere else. And now they have to make an appointment and start all over again. Or a community hospital where, I live in an area that there's a lot of resources, but I can imagine in a community setting where, they don't even have perhaps oncologists,
Yeah.
or highly specialized nutritionists to really support you through this journey, which is, it's so important. Or, even a psychologist to really help understand and navigate for your own mental health. And then the whole inequalities, I talked to patients in the waiting room where they were there. They obviously knew they had cancer. They needed to get their chemo, but they had very minimal awareness of clinical trials, genetic testing, what resources are available. A lot of these community hospitals don't have maybe the titles are different, but basically an ambassador to walk you through where, this healthcare provider can actually help you get those resources. So it was really eye-opening to me. And then, obviously from a physician perspective, I often talk to the nurses and, regardless of where I went, since I'm a recruiter and I love people, that was part of our conversation. And we would talk about, how many times you spend, your full day, seeing patients and obviously doing paperwork, and then have to have appointments with the insurance company to talk about denials and write letters and regulations. And I'm like, oh my God, how stressful can it be for a healthcare provider to navigate through that, to have all the student loans, to be able to spend time with your family and to navigate through all of this, and then also to help your patients along the way. Because if they don't have the resources and they don't know how to obtain them, how then, and it becomes, there's more for you to do. I mean, one of the things that I was talking to my oncologist our last visit is, sometimes medications, you can get medications, lower costs or lower co-payments if you call the pharmaceutical company. A lot of patients don't know this. So that's why I'm so empathetic to cancer patients when they're going through this journey, because if you are a minority and you don't have anyone in your family who can advocate, or you know how to advocate to some extent, can you imagine going through this journey, having a diagnosed with cancer, a lot of uncertainties through this journey, especially if you don't, depending on your stage and all of that, and then having to advocate for yourself. And if you don't know how to advocate for yourself, probably you're not, something is going to happen.
Right.
Yeah.
Something's going to happen. Either you're going to give up, because you don't know that you can ask for, I'm dehydrated, I need an IV infusion post chemo, or you don't know that you can obtain genetic testing through a network that is available, for free. But the majority of patients don't know about these things, and they don't know how to navigate through the system, and sometimes they don't even have access to this. If you live in a small community, you have to drive 4 hours to go see a doctor. Don't know if I would do that.
Yeah, it's very
That would be
overwhelming.
hard.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we take a lot for granted. Is there anything in particular, Adriana? One thing you had mentioned, I'm trying to think, on our call last week, you said something about providers that really stuck with me, and
Yes.
maybe it was.
Yes.
Tell
know.
me, say that again.
Well, I think that, because I was constantly going for treatment, right? I would see probably more than just one visit as a recruiter. Through this journey, I made it a point to thank everyone along the way. I listened to so many stories of nurses who decided to go into medicine during COVID. And now they're like, did I make the right decision? So I think it's so important that, we often talk about, during COVID, we talked about our heroes, right? Our heroes are still doing the work.
Yeah.
Our heroes are constantly giving themselves to patients like me, who at times we know they would hold my hand and say, don't worry, honey, you're going to be okay. They would come and check on me. Our heroes are the ones that you would walk into the infusion room and they're there with a smile.
Yeah.
And, sometimes, when you think about working in an infusion room with all those drugs and all those chemos and all of that, there's all of these things that they have to do for safety. But I think that we often forget about this. Our heroes are the ones that are short of staff and they're still taking the load.
Yeah.
That at 7 p.m., one time my chemo started late for whatever reasons. And at 7 p.m., my nurse was there with me. And she's like, don't worry, I'm going to stay with you until we're done, obviously.
Aww.
But those are my heroes. I mean, to me, these nurses that took care of me were angels. And my multidisciplinary team that surrounded me, they're amazing. And I would be grateful every single day of my life for the care they have provided me. And I think we as patients need to be sometimes we say thank you, but we need to say thank you all the time. We need to be grateful for those people who have made a commitment and that are passionate about medicine.
Yeah.
And made a commitment to provide service. And, to me, there's not more a rewarding career than being in medicine. But sometimes along the way, what happens is, patients think that, oh, this is just a job. Well, no, I mean, you can actually you can choose any career that you want, but medicine is, requires a lot of dedication and passion. And I saw this every day that I went to the hospital, every day that I got care.
Yeah. I remember you saying that and thinking we don't hear it enough. So to hear it, I guess also from the inside outside perspective is nice. And like, I'm really grateful that you took time to recognize that, because like, I think we even talked about those providers that are putting on their scrubs and heading into work every morning usually don't hear those things, and they don't know the impact that they've had. They've been kind of a blip on the radar in your treatment, or and maybe people you'll always remember, but they'll never know that that's how you thought. And for all of our, all patients, I don't know, that's very touching for me. So thank you again for sharing that.
I also think that, we were talking about burnout, either because of shortage or for whatever reasons, as when you're burnout, you could easily have a bad day, right? But wouldn't it be nice to, in return, the same smile that I got when I got to the infusion room, and, for me to, in return, to say, thank you for taking care of me. I really appreciate everything that you did. You went above and beyond. It's so, to me, it would mean so much for us to do that. And, I am very, I would say my sense of empathy and compassion has definitely elevated to a level above and beyond what I thought I was capable of. But that's my motto. I mean, I think you can take this motto along to anywhere you go, right? Whether it's to a restaurant or supermarket or whatever. But these are people that are, when I think about healthcare professionals, and that's why I love so much recruiting, is because there has to be a passion to really spend so many years going to school. And we all know this is not easy. We all know getting into all these school and learning and practicing and internships and preceptorships and things like that. And now you finally arrived, right? You're either a physician or APP, and you're delivering care, and you're just going along every day trying to do your job. And it would be nice, along the way, for someone to acknowledge all the hard work and all the sacrifice you made.
Yeah, absolutely.
I love that. Well, I know that we could talk about this all day. And Adriana, I think you have officially broken a record in one of our longest recordings. So thank you. and I actually think that's a great thing. I just looked at the clock and I was like, holy smokes, we've been talking for a really long time. And I could talk to you for like another hour. But for purposes of this episode, I think we'll wrap it up here. Any last thoughts, Adriana, that you have, or any, I don't know, we say clinical pearls in our world, but just life pearls. Any closing thoughts, remarks, comments that you have on your end that you'd like to share with the audience?
I think we cover most of them. But basically, just take care of yourself and listen to your body, share with your family and friends, nourish your soul, and good nutrition, and mostly be grateful and be kind and be thankful.
Yeah.
I love that.
I love that.
Well, if you guys have questions for Adriana or feedback for this episode, obviously we'll have the episode launched on all of our platforms, Spotify, Apple, SoundCloud, anywhere where you can find your podcast. So please make sure that you follow us there, download, subscribe to our podcast. If you'd like to interact with us, you can email us at oncallpodcast@soundphysicians.com, or on Instagram, follow us On Call with April and Alicia. And Adriana, we're probably going to post some photos and get some family photos or just timeline photos of your treatment that we'd like to share with the audience. So we'll talk to you about that. But yeah, I think we'll leave it there and share, let our listeners share their feedback and see what happens. So thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. And until next time, you guys stay well and we'll stay on call. Bye, everyone.
Thanks, guys.